Hey, it's the Empire, Drill Boxing Empire, Backstone Boxing. Now, man, you guys see my boy, man, Errol the True Spence, man, post his eye, post-surgery. He has an eye patch on, and he proves doubters wrong, man. There's a lot of naysayers out there, a lot of people who have some kind of energy, mostly Pacquiao fans, who are saying that Errol Spence Jr., he was trying to get out the fight, he wasn't ready, and this is an excuse to pull back out the fight because he wasn't ready. He wasn't doing good in training camp. Now, there was video service of Errol Spence training, and the guy was supposedly getting the better of Errol Spence Jr., and there's been a lot of doubts on how Errol Spence Jr. will deal with the Manny Pacquiao. But people got to understand that when sparring, you're not there to destroy your sparring partner. You're there to work on some things that maybe you're working on your jab, maybe you're working on footwork, maybe you're working on head movement. So there's many things you're working on in sparring, and that doesn't even translate over to the real fight most of the time, right? If you want to fight, for example, of two fighters who actually fought in sparring, who the other fighter got the better of the fighter was Terence Crawford and Eucharist Gamboa. Gamboa and Terence Crawford fought, and Gamboa destroyed Terence Crawford in sparring. But when they went into professional ring, you seen what happened. Terence Crawford ended up stopping Eucharist Gamboa. So, sometimes people reach too much into sparring. It wasn't like the guy got knocked out. The guy was getting touched up, but, like I said earlier, you don't know what Errol Spence is working on. Maybe he was working on trying to catch and shoot punches, so we just don't know. That being said, man, my boy Errol Spence Jr., he came off a horrific car accident that had him flying out the window shield of his car, and, his body's skidding like you throw water on a lake and the water skips. That's what his body was doing. He came off of that car accident, and he came in the sport of boxing. He came back. He came back to fight Danny Swift Garcia, elite level fighter, and understand that he completely dominated Garcia. You couldn't give Garcia too many of those rounds because he was basically tentative to throw punches because of Errol Spence's power and counterpunching ability. So that being said, man, my boy Errol Spence Jr., you got a lot of casual fans who don't really follow sport boxing. If you know that Errol Spence Jr. was in a car accident and he came back and fought Danny Garcia, he's not gonna, and he has no fake in him, right? Now, he went to 3 different doctors, and 3 different doctors said he needs to get his eyes done, right? He needs surgery on his eye. So that being said, man, Errol Spence Jr., he's doing what his doctor tells him to do for his best safety. People always think in the moment, right? But you gotta think, what's your life gonna be outside the ring when you're done with sport boxing, and it's just you and your family, right? So that being said, man, my boy Errol Spence Jr., he's looking out for his health, and it looks like him and Pacquiao are gonna be fighting next year anyway. Pacquiao said, "Hey man, get well. I see you in 2021 for all the belts, or 2022 for all the belts." Right? So that's good news from Pacquiao. He still wants to fight because that's a legacy fight for Pacquiao. A lot of people don't see it that way because Pacquiao has accomplished so much in his career. But I truly believe that Pacquiao is trying to get all the titles, right? Win, lose, or draw, he wants to get all those titles and become undisputed at 147. And this will be a asterisk on Manny Pacquiao's career to show how great he really is. And, there hasn't been an undisputed 147 champion in this era yet. Floyd couldn't do it. Pacquiao couldn't do it. Errol Spence hasn't done it. Terence Crawford hasn't done it. No one has become undisputed at 147. Now, Floyd could have did it when he beat Pacquiao. The only belt was missing at the time was Kell Brook's IBF title. But for one reason or another, Floyd Mayweather did not fight Kell Brook. He should have did it, but he didn't do it. But that being said, man, we're going to see how this whole thing plays out with my boy Errol the True Spence and Manny Pacquiao. They said the fight was going to be delayed, and Pacquiao's going to go fight Dennis Ugas. So that's a big fight for Manny Pacquiao and Ugas. I think that's a trap fight, man. That's a pandemic fight right there, man. That's a scramble fight. And this can't just be another AJ Andy Ruiz. We don't know. I got a whole video coming for that one because this is definitely a trap fight, man. You don't really see too many Cubans getting a chance at the highest level like this. Last time I can think of an elite level Cuban getting the last minute shot was Luis Ortiz versus Anthony Joshua, when Jared Miller basically he couldn't fight because he tested positive, right? So that fight, Luis Ortiz could have fought Anthony Joshua, but he only had 2 weeks to prepare. But unlike Luis Ortiz, Dennis Ugas said, "I'll take that fight right now. Let's go." So I'm really liking that. I understand that these Cubans are elite in the Olympics right now. You know, Keyshawn just lost to a Cuban, right? So that's a really big deal, man. Understand, we're gonna see how this whole thing plays out, man. Cubans are definitely elite. They're still dominating in the Olympics, and they're still a fundamentally sound fighter. And that's like the worst kind of style Pacquiao can fight: a counterpuncher who's a fundamentally sound boxer. Not only that, Dennis Ugas is a big fighter. He's a big, strong counterpuncher, physically and figuratively. So we're gonna see how this whole thing plays out, man. I'm really excited to hear that, Errol Spence guys, I done, and it was like right away. It wasn't no waiting. There was no wait and see. It was like right away. So hopefully we will see. Maybe he won't train. Maybe we'll see what he can and can't do. Everything happened so suddenly. So we gotta get some eye specialists to talk about the sport of boxing. I've been seeing a lot of channels lately talk about when a guy gets knocked out or wobbled really bad, the possibilities that could happen in a ring from a doctor's perspective, right? I forgot the name of the channel, but he'll talk about it, right? Or even like an injury or something a fighter would sustain. He'll break it down and talk about the injuries. There's a boxing channel for many things in the world of boxing. People start talking about contracts. Some people talk about legal issues in the sport of boxing. I mean, there's just a wealth of information out there, and there's so many aspects of boxing outside of just the fighting part of it. And people are really into it. People are really into the contracts and the business side of boxing now. Not everyone's Jeff Bezos. Not everyone's a business-minded person. Boxing fans are definitely extreme fans to the point where they're like, oh no, he's the A side, he's the B side, he deserves this much. We'll look at the pay-per-view sales and start running the numbers. That's what boxing is all about, man. I swear. So we're gonna see how this whole thing plays out, man. Let me know how you guys feel about it, though. Errol Spence Jr., man, shows the people that, hey, man, listen, I got my eye done. Here's the proof. And, a speedy recovery to the champ. Let me know how you guys feel about it, though. Like, comment, subscribe. This is The Empire. Geobasket Empire. Peace.